Who controls your internal? That constant narrator running commentary on everything you experience, judging every situation, predicting every outcome, creating stories about what everything means. Most people never question this. They assume it's them, that it speaks truth, that they must obey its commands. This assumption destroys more potential than any external obstacle ever could. Your mind is not your friend. It evolved to keep you alive in dangerous environments, not to help you thrive in modern ones. Its default programming includes catastrophic thinking, social comparison, risk aversion, and energy conservation. These survival mechanisms served our ancestors well when avoiding predators meant life or death. Today they create anxiety, depression, mediocrity, and failure. Right now, as you process these words, your mind is simultaneously running multiple programs. One part analyzes the content for accuracy. Another part judges whether this information applies to you. A third part searches for reasons to reject what doesn't fit your existing beliefs. Meanwhile, background processes worry about upcoming responsibilities, replay past conversations, and generate random thoughts that have nothing to do with anything important. This is mental chaos masquerading as normal consciousness. This scattered, reactive, uncontrolled mental state is what most people accept as their reality. They wonder why they can't focus, why they procrastinate, why they feel overwhelmed, why they make poor decisions. The answer is simple: they've never learned to operate their own minds. Mental mastery begins with recognizing that consciousness has levels. At the surface level, your mind chatters constantly about immediate concerns, temporary emotions, and trivial details. This surface chatter drowns out the deeper levels where real thinking occurs, where creativity emerges, where wisdom develops. Most people live their entire lives trapped in surface consciousness, never accessing their actual mental capabilities. Can you sit in complete silence for 60 seconds without your mind generating a single thought? Try it right now. Close your eyes and attempt to maintain perfect mental stillness for 1 minute. What happened? Did thoughts arise? Did your mind create scenarios, remember obligations, or start planning future activities? This simple exercise reveals how little control you actually have over your own mental processes. The untrained mind is like a wild horse, minds powerful but uncontrolled, capable of great things but dangerous when undirected. Your thoughts buck and rear, carrying you wherever they choose rather than where you want to go. Mental mastery is the process of becoming the rider rather than remaining the passenger, of taking conscious control over your mental processes rather than being controlled by them. Every emotion you experience begins with a thought. Every action you take starts with a mental process. Every result you create flows from your mental state. Control your mind and you control your life. Leave your mind uncontrolled and your life becomes a series of reactions to random mental events that feel important but usually aren't. Psychological research reveals that the average person has between 12,000 and 60,000 thoughts per day. 95% of these thoughts are repetitive. 80% are negative. This means most people spend their mental energy recycling negative thought patterns that serve no productive purpose. They literally think themselves into limitation, anxiety, and failure through sheer repetition of unexamined mental habits. Your beliefs about yourself become your identity. Your identity determines your actions. Your actions create your results reinforce your beliefs. This psychological loop either elevates you to extraordinary achievement or traps you in mediocrity, depending on the quality of thoughts you allow to dominate your mental space. Most limiting beliefs were installed during childhood when your critical thinking capabilities were undeveloped. Authority figures, parents, teachers, older siblings, made statements about your capabilities, your worth, your potential. Your young mind accepted these statements as facts rather than opinions. Decades later, these childhood programming still runs your life unless you consciously identify and reprogram limiting belief systems. The technique of cognitive restructuring allows you to identify, challenge, and replace limiting beliefs with empowering ones. When you catch yourself thinking limiting thoughts, "I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I always fail," you can question these thoughts like a skilled attorney questioning a hostile witness. What evidence supports this belief? What evidence contradicts it? What would I tell a friend who expressed this belief about themselves? Mental conditioning works through repetition, intensity, and emotional engagement. The thoughts you think most often, with the greatest emotional intensity, become your dominant mental patterns. This is why affirmations work when done correctly. Not because positive thinking magically changes reality, but because repetitive positive thoughts gradually overwrite negative mental programming. Your mind operates like a sophisticated computer running multiple programs simultaneously. Some programs serve your mind's creative thinking, problem solving, goal achievement. Other programs sabotage you: minds worry, self-doubt, procrastination. Mental mastery involves learning to run helpful programs while shutting down harmful ones. This requires the same conscious effort you'd apply to maintaining any sophisticated system. Meditation is mental weight training. Just as physical exercise strengthens your body by placing deliberate stress on your muscles, meditation strengthens your mind by placing deliberate stress on your attention. When you practice focusing on a single object, your breath, a candle flame, a repeated phrase, you're building the mental muscle of concentration. This muscle serves you in every area of life. The space between stimulus and response is where freedom lives. When something happens to you, mind's criticism, setbacks, unexpected challenges, your mind immediately generates automatic responses based on past conditioning. These automatic responses often include anger, fear, defensiveness, or withdrawal. Mental mastery means expanding the space between what happens and how you respond, creating room for conscious choice rather than unconscious reaction. Most people experience life as something that happens to them. They feel victimized by circumstances, controlled by other people's opinions, limited by their past experiences. This victim consciousness creates learned helplessness, the psychological state where people stop trying to improve their situation because they believe they have no power to change anything. The antidote to victim consciousness is responsibility. The recognition that while you cannot control what happens to you, you can always control how you respond to what happens. This shift from external focus to internal focus transforms you from victim to victor, from passive recipient to active creator, from reactor to responder. Your self-talk determines your self-concept, which determines your self-confidence, which determines your behavior, which determines your results. If you constantly tell yourself you're incapable, unworthy, or destined to fail, these statements become self-fulfilling prophecies. If you consistently tell yourself you're capable, valuable, and destined to succeed, these beliefs also become self-fulfilling prophecies. The reticular activating system is a network of neurons in your brainstem that filters the massive amount of sensory information bombarding you every second. It decides what information reaches your conscious awareness based on what you've told it is important. When you focus on problems, limitations, and obstacles, your reticular activating system highlights evidence that supports these focuses. When you focus on opportunities, solutions, and possibilities, it highlights evidence that supports these focuses instead. This neurological filtering system explains why two people can experience identical situations but perceive them completely differently. The optimist and pessimist aren't seeing different realities, they're seeing different aspects of the same reality based on their programmed mental filters. Change your mental programming, and you literally change what you perceive as possible. Mental rehearsal activates the same neural pathways as actual experience. When you vividly visualize yourself succeeding at something, minds delivering a perfect presentation, winning a difficult negotiation, achieving an important goal, your brain treats this visualization as practice. Athletes have known this for decades. The basketball player who mentally practices free throws improves almost as much as the player who physically practices free throws. Your mind cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. This creates enormous opportunity for mental programming. You can literally practice success in your mind until it feels familiar, comfortable, and inevitable. By the time you encounter the real situation, your mind treats it as something you've already done successfully many times. Fear is excitement without breath. Anxiety is energy without direction. Anger is passion without purpose. Most negative emotions are actually positive energies that have been misdirected or misunderstood. Mental mastery involves learning to recognize the energy behind emotions and redirect that energy toward constructive purposes, rather than being controlled by the emotion itself. The technique of reframing allows you to change your emotional response to any situation by changing how you interpret the situation. Instead of seeing criticism as attack, you can reframe it as feedback. Instead of seeing failure as evidence of inadequacy, you can reframe it as information about what doesn't work. Instead of seeing challenges as problems, you can reframe them as opportunities to grow stronger. Your mind is programmable, but most people allow their programming to be done randomly by whatever they encounter, minus news media, social conversations, entertainment, advertising. This random programming usually creates anxiety, dissatisfaction, and limitation because these emotions grab attention, and attention equals profit for those who supply your mental input. Take conscious control of your mental input. Choose what information enters your mind as carefully as you choose what food enters your body. Feed your mind with wisdom, inspiration, knowledge, and positive examples of what's possible. Starve it of negativity, gossip, fear-mongering, and limitation-focused content. Your mind becomes what it consumes most regularly. The psychological principle of neuroplasticity reveals that your brain can reorganize itself throughout your entire life. New neural pathways can be created at any age. Old limiting patterns can be weakened and eventually eliminated. This means no matter what mental conditioning you've experienced in the past, you can reprogram your mind for success, confidence, and achievement. Mental strength is built the same way physical strength is built, through progressive resistance training. Start with small challenges to your comfort zone and gradually increase the difficulty. If social situations make you nervous, start by making eye contact with one stranger per day, then progress to starting conversations, then giving compliments, then leading group discussions. Each success builds confidence for the next level of challenge. Your mind craves consistency between your beliefs about yourself and your behavior. This psychological need for consistency can work for you or against you. If you believe you're lazy, you'll behave in ways that confirm this belief. If you believe you're disciplined, you'll behave in ways that confirm this belief. Change your identity first, and your behavior will follow naturally. The most successful people have trained their minds to focus on what they can control while ignoring what they cannot control. This creates psychological efficiency. All mental energy flows toward productive thinking and effective action rather than being wasted on worry, blame, or wishful thinking about unchangeable circumstances. Your mind is either growing or dying. There is no maintenance mode. Brain cells that aren't challenged regularly begin to atrophy. Neural pathways that aren't used regularly become weakened. This is why lifelong learning isn't optional for peak performance. It's required for maintaining mental fitness. Challenge your mind constantly with new information, new skills, new perspectives, and new problems to solve. The placebo effect demonstrates the mind's power over physical reality. When people believe they're receiving effective medical treatment, their bodies often heal even when they're receiving inactive substances. This same principle applies to achievement. When you genuinely believe you're capable of achieving something, your mind activates resources and recognizes opportunities that remain invisible when you doubt your capabilities. Mental mastery is not about eliminating negative thoughts. It's about choosing which thoughts deserve your attention and energy. Negative thoughts will arise. That's normal and natural. The key is learning to observe these thoughts without being controlled by them, to acknowledge them without believing them, to let them pass without following them into limiting emotional states. Your conscious mind can only hold about 7 pieces of information simultaneously, but your subconscious mind processes millions of pieces of information every second. Learning to communicate effectively with your subconscious mind, through visualization, affirmation, and repetition, allows you to harness this enormous processing power for achieving your goals. The psychological concept of flow states reveals what happens when your mind operates at peak efficiency. During flow, self-consciousness disappears, time seems to slow down or speed up, and performance becomes effortless and automatic. These states occur when your challenge level perfectly matches your skill level while your attention remains completely focused on the present moment. You can learn to trigger flow states by systematically eliminating distractions, setting clear objectives, matching tasks to your current skill level, and developing the ability to maintain sustained focus. The more time you spend in flow states, the more capable you become and the more satisfaction you experience from your activities. Your mind, now disciplined and powerful, becomes the foundation for building a body that matches your mental strength. But this isn't about vanity or appearance. This is about creating a physical vessel capable of manifesting your mental capabilities in the real world. The mind-body connection is not metaphorical, it's physiological. Your thoughts directly influence your hormone production, immune system function, pain perception, and physical capabilities. When you think confident thoughts, your body produces chemicals that make you feel and perform more confidently. When you think weak thoughts, your body produces chemicals that make you feel and perform more weakly. Your body is your mind's primary tool for interacting with physical reality. A weak, unfit, undisciplined body limits what your mind can accomplish regardless of your mental capabilities. Your physical condition directly affects your mental clarity, emotional stability, energy levels, and confidence. Build your body, and you amplify everything else you're trying to achieve. Physical training is psychological training disguised as exercise. Every rep that pushes beyond comfort teaches your mind that limits can be transcended. Every workout completed despite not feeling like it teaches your mind that actions don't depend on emotions. Every strength gain proves to your mind that consistent effort creates measurable improvement. Your body keeps score of every choice you make. Every healthy meal strengthens your physical foundation. Every workout builds your capacity. Every good night's sleep prepares you for peak performance. But equally true, every poor food choice weakens your foundation. Every skipped workout reduces your capacity. Every sleep-deprived night impairs your performance. The psychological principle of embodied cognition reveals that your physical posture affects your mental state. Stand tall with your shoulders back and your chest open, and your mind naturally feels more confident. Slouch with your shoulders forward and your head down, and your mind naturally feels less confident. Your body language doesn't just communicate to others, it communicates to your own mind. Physical discomfort is mental training. When your muscles burn during exercise, when your lungs strain during cardio, when fatigue demands that you quit, these moments train your mind to persist despite internal resistance. This psychological training transfers to every challenging situation you'll encounter. The person who can push through physical discomfort can push through mental and emotional discomfort. Your cardiovascular system directly affects your cognitive function. Regular aerobic exercise increases blood flow to the brain, stimulates the production of growth factors that create new neural connections, and improves memory, focus, and decision-making capabilities. Physical fitness is literally brain enhancement disguised as body improvement. Strength training builds more than muscle, it builds the psychological quality of persistence. When you're performing the final repetitions of a challenging set, your mind generates multiple reasons to quit. Continuing despite these mental protests teaches your mind that your will is stronger than your impulses, that your decisions matter more than your feelings. The discipline required to maintain physical fitness creates a psychological foundation for success in every area of life. The person who can force themselves to exercise when they don't feel like it can force themselves to work when they don't feel like it, study when they don't feel like it, save money when they don't feel like it, persist when they don't feel like it. Your physical appearance affects how others perceive and treat you, which affects your opportunities and relationships. More importantly, your physical condition affects how you perceive and treat yourself. When you look in the mirror and see evidence of discipline, commitment, and self-respect, this creates internal confidence that radiates outward in everything you do. Recovery and regeneration are active processes, not passive rest. Your body rebuilds itself stronger during recovery periods, but only if you provide the proper conditions: adequate sleep, proper nutrition, stress management, and strategic rest. Neglect recovery, and you undermine all your training efforts. Your body is the only possession you're guaranteed to own your entire life. You cannot trade it in for a newer model. You cannot upgrade to premium features later. You cannot replace broken parts indefinitely. Invest in your body like you invest in your most valuable assets, because that's exactly what it is. Physical training teaches the psychological principle of progressive overload, the understanding that growth occurs when you consistently demand slightly more than you're currently capable of providing. This principle applies to every area of development. Challenge yourself progressively, and improvement becomes inevitable. Your body's energy levels directly affect your mental performance and emotional stability. Low energy creates negative thinking, poor decision-making, and emotional reactivity. High energy creates positive thinking, clear decision-making, and emotional stability. Physical fitness is energy management disguised as health improvement. The psychological concept of kinesthetic learning reveals that physical movement enhances mental processing. Walking while thinking improves creativity. Exercise before studying improves memory retention. Physical activity during learning increases comprehension. Your body and mind are not separate systems. They are integrated components of a single high-performance organism. Your posture affects your hormone production. Standing in confident postures for just 2 minutes increases testosterone and decreases cortisol, creating biochemical changes that improve performance and reduce stress. Your body position literally changes your brain chemistry, which changes your mental state, which changes your behavior, which changes your results. Physical challenges provide psychological vaccination against mental weakness. When you voluntarily experience difficult physical sensations, cold, heat, fatigue, discomfort, you build tolerance for difficult psychological experiences. This creates mental resilience that serves you when facing criticism, setbacks, rejection, or failure. Your breath is the bridge between your mind and body. Controlled breathing techniques allow you to directly influence your mental state through physical action. Slow, controlled breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, creating calm and focus. Rapid, powerful breathing activates the sympathetic nervous system, creating energy and alertness. The stronger your body becomes, the more capable your mind feels. Physical strength creates psychological strength through the direct experience of increasing capability. When you can lift heavier weights, run longer distances, or perform more challenging exercises, your mind generalizes this growing capacity to other areas of life. Your body, now strong and disciplined, becomes the vehicle for developing skills that create lasting value. But skill development is not just about learning techniques, it's about transforming your identity from someone who hopes to achieve to someone who inevitably achieves through systematic capability building. Skill acquisition is identity transformation disguised as learning. Every new capability you develop changes how you see yourself and how others see you. The person who develops exceptional communication skills doesn't just learn techniques, they become a communicator. The person who develops exceptional analytical skills doesn't just learn methods, techniques, they become an analyst. Your brain is designed for skill acquisition through a process called neuroplasticity. When you practice new abilities, your brain literally rewires itself to perform those abilities more efficiently. New neural pathways form. Existing pathways strengthen. Over time, skills that initially required conscious effort become automatic, freeing your mind to focus on higher-level aspects of performance. The psychological principle of deliberate practice explains why some people become expert while others plateau at mediocrity despite years of experience. Deliberate practice means working at the edge of your current ability, focusing on your weaknesses, seeking immediate feedback, and pushing beyond your comfort zone consistently. Most people practice at the level of their current competence. They do what they can already do reasonably well, repeatedly, without challenging themselves to improve. This creates the illusion of practice without creating actual improvement. True skill development requires working on what you cannot yet do well, which feels uncomfortable but creates growth. The 10,000 hour rule is misunderstood. It's not just time spent practicing, it's time spent in deliberate practice that creates expertise. 1,000 hours of challenging, focused, feedback-driven practice creates more skill than 10,000 hours of comfortable, unfocused, routine practice. Your learning velocity, how quickly you acquire new skills, can be dramatically improved through meta-learning strategies. Learning how to learn makes you capable of mastering anything faster. This includes understanding how memory works, how skills transfer between domains, how to design effective practice sessions, and how to accelerate the transition from conscious competence to unconscious competence. The psychological concept of beginner's mind is crucial for advanced skill development. Experts who maintain beginner's mind continue improving throughout their careers. Experts who believe they've mastered their field stop growing and eventually become obsolete. Stay curious, stay humble, stay willing to be wrong, and you'll continue developing long after others plateau. Skill stacking creates exponential value. When you develop complementary skills that work together, the combination becomes more valuable than the sum of its parts. A programmer who understands psychology creates better user experiences. A salesperson who understands data analysis makes better strategic decisions. A leader who understands finance makes better business choices. The confidence-competence loop drives skill development. As you become more skilled, you feel more confident. As you feel more confident, you attempt more challenging tasks. As you succeed at more challenging tasks, you become more skilled. This positive cycle accelerates development for those who understand and leverage it. Teaching others what you're learning accelerates your own skill development through several psychological mechanisms. Teaching forces you to organize your knowledge clearly, identify gaps in your understanding, practice explaining concepts simply, and receive feedback on your comprehension. The person who learns and teaches simultaneously develops skills faster than the person who only learns. The psychological principle of transfer explains how skills developed in one domain can enhance performance in other domains. Physical training improves mental discipline. Musical training improves mathematical ability. Chess training improves strategic thinking. Choose skills that create positive transfer effects to multiply your development efforts. Your skill development strategy should focus on meta skills minus the skills that help you develop other skills faster. These include critical thinking, pattern recognition, system analysis, communication, emotional regulation, and learning acceleration. Master these foundational capabilities, and you can master anything else more quickly. The spacing effect reveals that distributed practice creates better learning than massed practice. Practicing a skill for 30 minutes daily for 10 days creates better results than practicing for 5 hours on 2 days. Your brain consolidates learning during rest periods between practice sessions, Work with your neurology, not against it. Deliberate practice requires immediate feedback to be effective. Without feedback, you can practice incorrectly for years without improving. Seek feedback from experts, use objective measurement tools, record your performance for analysis, and create systems that provide real-time information about your progress. The psychological concept of flow states reveals optimal conditions for skill development. When challenge level matches skill level while attention remains completely focused, learning accelerates dramatically. Design your practice sessions to maintain this optimal challenge-skill balance as your abilities improve. Mental models are cognitive frameworks that help you understand and navigate complex domains. Developing accurate mental models for your chosen skills allows you to learn faster, make better decisions, and avoid common mistakes. Study how experts in your field think, not just what they do. Your motivation for skill development must be intrinsic rather than extrinsic for long-term success. Extrinsic motivators, money, recognition, approval model, provide temporary energy but fade over time. Intrinsic motivators, mastery, autonomy, purpose, provide sustainable energy that carries you through years of development. The compound effect applies to skill development. Small improvements, sustained over time, create exponential results. 1% improvement daily doubles your capability in 70 days. This mathematical reality explains why consistency beats intensity for long-term skill development. Your identity as a learner determines your learning outcomes. If you see yourself as someone who is good at learning, you approach challenges with confidence and persistence. If you see yourself as someone who struggles to learn, you approach challenges with doubt and give up more easily. Cultivate an identity as someone who can learn anything given enough time and deliberate practice. Skills become your competitive advantage, but competitive advantage means nothing without relationships that create opportunities to use those skills. This is where the psychology of relationship building becomes crucial, not manipulation or networking for personal gain, but genuine connection based on mutual value creation. Human beings are fundamentally social creatures with psychological needs for connection, belonging, and mutual support. These needs exist regardless of your personality type or individual preferences. Even introverts require meaningful relationships to thrive. The person who tries to succeed alone is fighting against human nature and severely limiting their potential. Your relationships function as external processing systems for your thoughts and emotions. When you discuss challenges with trusted advisors, you gain perspectives you cannot generate alone. When you share goals with supportive people, you receive encouragement and accountability. When you collaborate with talented individuals, you accomplish things impossible to achieve individually. The psychological principle of reciprocity governs all human relationships. When you provide value to others, they feel psychologically compelled to provide value to you. This is not manipulation, it's a fundamental feature of human psychology that creates the foundation for all cooperation and collaboration. Trust is the currency of relationships, and trust is built through consistency over time. Small promises kept regularly create more trust than large promises kept occasionally. Your reputation for reliability becomes your most valuable asset because it determines who will take risks on your behalf, recommend you for opportunities, and support you during challenges. The psychology of influence reveals 6 principles that govern how people make decisions about whom to help, support, and do business with: reciprocity, commitment and consistency, social proof, authority, liking, and scarcity. Understanding these principles allows you to build relationships more effectively while avoiding manipulation tactics that damage long-term trust. Your network operates according to the psychological principle of homophily, minos, the tendency for similar people to connect with each other. This creates echo chambers that reinforce existing beliefs and limit exposure to new perspectives. Deliberately seek relationships with people who think differently than you do to expand your mental models and identify blind spots. Social capital is your ability to mobilize resources through relationships. Like financial capital, social capital can be invested, spent, and accumulated over time. Every favor you do for others increases your social capital. Every favor you ask of others spends your social capital. Manage this invisible asset as carefully as you manage your visible assets. The psychological concept of social proof explains why relationships accelerate achievement. When people in your network succeed, their success demonstrates what's possible and provides specific models for how to achieve similar results. Surround yourself with people who are achieving what you want to achieve, and their examples will reprogram your beliefs about what's possible for you. Emotional intelligence is more predictive of relationship success than analytical intelligence. The ability to understand your own emotions, regulate your emotional responses, recognize others' emotions, and manage social interactions skillfully determines the quality of your relationships more than your technical knowledge or cognitive abilities. The psychology of commitment and consistency explains why public accountability accelerates goal achievement. When you commit to goals in front of people you respect, you feel psychological pressure to follow through, to maintain consistency between your stated intentions and your actual behavior. This pressure becomes motivational fuel that carries you through difficult periods. Your communication style determines the quality of your relationships. Aggressive communication creates conflict. Passive communication creates frustration. Passive-aggressive communication creates confusion. Assertive communication creates respect and understanding. Learn to express your needs clearly while respecting others' needs equally. The psychological principle of rapport explains why some people instantly connect while others never develop meaningful relationships. Rapport is created through similarity, synchronization, and shared experience. Find commonalities with others, match their communication style appropriately, and create positive shared experiences to build rapport systematically. Listening is more important than speaking for building strong relationships. When you listen actively and respond thoughtfully, you make others feel heard, understood, and valued. This creates emotional connection more effectively than trying to impress people with your knowledge, achievements, or opinions. The psychology of mentorship reveals that the best mentoring relationships are mutually beneficial rather than one-sided. Effective mentors gain satisfaction from contributing to others' development, fresh perspectives from younger thinkers, and expanded networks through their mentees' connections. Approach potential mentors with value to offer, not just value to receive. Your ability to build relationships across hierarchical levels determines your long-term opportunities. Build genuine connections with people above you, below you, and at your level. Today's junior colleague might become tomorrow's decision maker. Today's peer might become tomorrow's business partner. Today's superior might become tomorrow's reference. The psychological concept of the inner circle explains why successful people maintain small groups of trusted advisors rather than trying to be close to everyone. Your inner circle should include people who tell you the truth rather than what you want to hear, who challenge your thinking rather than just supporting your existing beliefs, who have achieved what you want to achieve. Relationship maintenance requires systematic effort, not just good intentions. Create systems for staying connected with important people regularly. Remember birthdays, celebrate others' achievements, offer help during challenges, and maintain contact even when you don't need anything. Relationships deteriorate without attention. The psychology of giving reveals that providing value to others creates psychological satisfaction for both giver and receiver. When you help others succeed, you feel valuable and capable. When others receive your help, they feel grateful and connected. This creates positive emotional experiences that strengthen relationships naturally. Your relationships become your reputation. People judge your character based on the company you keep, the people who recommend you, and the relationships you maintain over time. Choose relationships with people whose values align with yours and whose behavior you're proud to be associated with. The psychological principle of social facilitation explains why people perform better when working with others than when working alone. The presence of other people increases arousal, which improves performance on well-learned tasks. Build relationships with people who bring out your best performance rather than people who enable your worst habits. Conflict resolution skills determine relationship longevity. Disagreements are inevitable in any meaningful relationship. The ability to address conflicts directly but respectfully, focus on solving problems rather than assigning blame, and find win-win solutions determines whether conflicts strengthen or weaken your relationships. Your relationships create the foundation for building systems that work automatically. But systems thinking is not just about processes and procedures, it's about understanding how individual components interact to create emergent properties that are greater than the sum of their parts. Systems thinking is a cognitive framework that focuses on relationships between components rather than the components themselves. Most people think linearly, is this, then that. Systems thinkers understand that complex systems create feedback loops, time delays, and unintended consequences that make linear thinking inadequate for creating lasting solutions. Your life is a complex system composed of multiple subsystems: health, wealth, relationships, skills, mindset, environment, and habits. These subsystems interact with each other in ways that either reinforce positive outcomes or create negative spirals. Understanding these interactions allows you to design interventions that improve multiple areas simultaneously. The psychological principle of automation explains why habits are more powerful than willpower for creating lasting change. Willpower is a finite resource that depletes throughout the day. Habits are automatic behaviors that require minimal mental energy. Convert desired behaviors into habits, and you create sustainable change without relying on motivation or discipline. Habit formation follows a neurological pattern called the habit loop. Cue, routine, reward. The cue triggers the behavior. The routine is the behavior itself. The reward reinforces the behavior. To build new habits, design clear cues, define specific routines, and create immediate rewards. To break old habits, identify the cues and replace the routines while maintaining the rewards. The psychology of decision fatigue reveals why successful people create systems that eliminate routine decisions. Every decision depletes mental energy, even small ones like what to wear or what to eat. Create systems that automate routine decisions, and you preserve mental energy for important choices that require clear thinking. Environmental design is systems thinking applied to physical spaces. Your environment shapes your behavior more than your willpower shapes your behavior. If you want to eat healthier, design your kitchen to make healthy choices easier and unhealthy choices harder. If you want to exercise regularly, design your bedroom to make workout clothes visible and accessible. The compound effect operates through systems rather than individual actions. One workout doesn't create fitness, but a system of regular exercise creates extraordinary physical capabilities over time. One good financial decision doesn't create wealth, but a system of consistent investing creates financial independence over time. Systems create predictable results by removing dependence on motivation, willpower, and perfect conditions. When you have systems for important outcomes, results become inevitable rather than hopeful. Systems work when you don't feel like working, when conditions aren't perfect, when motivation is low. The psychological principle of implementation intentions increases follow-through on goals from 25% to 90%. Instead of setting vague goals like I will exercise more, create specific implementation intentions like when I wake up on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I will immediately put on my workout clothes and go to the gym. This if-then planning activates automatic behavior in response to environmental cues. Feedback loops are essential components of effective systems. Without feedback, you cannot adjust your approach based on results. Build measurement and monitoring into every system you create. Track leading indicators that predict outcomes, not just lagging indicators that report what already happened. The psychology of identity-based systems explains why behavior change succeeds or fails. Instead of focusing on outcomes you want to achieve, focus on the type of person you want to become. Instead of I want to lose 20 pounds, think I am someone who takes care of their body. Identity-based systems align your actions with your self-concept automatically. Leverage is the foundation of effective systems. Physical leverage allows you to move heavy objects with minimal force. Financial leverage allows you to control large assets with minimal capital. System leverage allows you to create large results with minimal ongoing effort. Design systems that do more with less rather than systems that require more to do more. The psychological concept of cognitive load explains why simple systems outperform complex ones. Your brain has limited processing capacity. Complex systems overwhelm your cognitive resources and increase the likelihood of errors and abandonment. Design systems that are as simple as possible while still achieving desired outcomes. Redundancy and fail-safes prevent system failures when individual components break down. If your exercise system depends on going to one specific gym, you'll stop exercising when that gym is closed. If your exercise system includes multiple options, one workouts, outdoor activities, different gym locations, one weight, you'll maintain consistency despite obstacles. The psychology of systematic improvement reveals that systems should evolve based on results and changing circumstances. What works at one stage of development may not work at the next stage. Build review and refinement processes into your systems so they adapt and improve over time rather than becoming obsolete. Documentation transforms systems from personal processes into transferable assets. When you document your systems clearly, you can delegate components to others, teach your methods to team members, and maintain consistency even when you're not personally involved. Systems that exist only in your head die with you. The psychological principle of systematic accountability explains why external monitoring improves system adherence. When other people track your progress towards systematic goals, you feel social pressure to maintain consistency. Build accountability into your systems through partners, coaches, public commitments, or tracking technologies. Your systems become your competitive advantage because they create consistent results regardless of external circumstances. While others rely on talent, luck, or extraordinary effort, you rely on proven processes that generate predictable outcomes. This reliability becomes your reputation and your foundation for achieving goals others consider impossible. These 5 ways: mastering your mind, building your body, developing irreplaceable skills, creating strategic relationships, and designing effective systems. 1. These are not separate activities but interconnected elements of a complete approach to building yourself quietly. Each strengthens the others, each makes the others more effective. Together, they create a psychological foundation for extraordinary achievement that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. The world belongs to those who understand that success is not an accident but a system, not an event but a process, not a destination but a way of traveling. While others hope for luck, you create systems that generate their own luck. While others seek shortcuts, you build foundations that support long-term achievement. While others make noise about their intentions, you make quiet progress toward your goals. This is the way of psychological mastery. This is the path to lasting transformation.